Oh, my name is Gerry Andrew. I'm going to call myself Gerry instead of Gerald. I'm now a tender age of 96. Um, I've, I've spent a lot of my time in the early days in England, and in fact, mainly in the centre of London. My dad was one of the best men I've ever met in my life. He really concentrated on us kids. You got to realise I was the youngest of 10 kids in a family. It's a lot of kids. And being the youngest, that's where I got the runt of the litter from. Being the youngest, I used to idolise my dad because I used to love him. And he used to allow me to do things which I got away with. From my memory, he used to go off with the French operation, like the French group. He could speak French, not a great deal, but enough that he was speaking French. And so I always remember him and always used to say, my dad's French. But I wasn't, but being little kids, we used to make up things as we went along. But Dad actually worked very hard in the French forces. Well, first of all, I remember the noise and what we was put to. And secondly, I always remember that what we were not allowed to do by my parents, my mum and dad. When the war was on, I became a young soldier. We carried a rifle at one period. We were only fairly young, but carried the rifle, pack on my side. And then the other thing I remember very clearly was my elder brother, a lot elder than me, always used to say to me, "Come on, where's your rifle?" A sling over my shoulder and go with him. And we would travel the areas where we were working. This helmet, no big stuff out. And I always remember that I always thought that the helmet was the most important thing in my life. And so my helmet stayed on my head a lot, where it didn't need to. But I always remember my dad saying, "Son, helmet." We had a shelter, and the shelter was the way we did it. My father built the shelter. If the father wanted to do something, he had to get it done. I used to have a place in the air raid shelter. I used that room as an air raid shelter for everything. What it was really was a big hole in the ground, if you like, and we used to keep that fairly always well looked after. And all the kids, if we went in there, we had to go in there and we had to behave ourselves. There was no half measures there, because the air raid shelter was so important to us. It was big. Everything was rationed, and it was really tough. All food was rationed up to a point, especially in London. Not so much in Liverpool and all the others, because they're just working what they've got.
When the Americans arrived, because the Americans had everything. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Tell me about the Americans arriving.
Well, Americans arriving was absolutely amazing, really amazing. First and foremost, they didn't come straight over. The Americans' forces were built to move into England. They were more soldier-like than anything you got in England or around. The Americans were thoroughly in control. I remember their troops coming over. The Americans, of course, had more food than any of us because they were better equipped. They fed everybody.
Because their logistics was better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Americans were very, very clever. My memories of that were, I didn't know it had ended. All I know was I was going to go in an air raid shelter and sit there until they stopped making all this noise. There was nobody to notify you officially, you know what I mean? What we were relying on is our friends. We learnt that the war was coming to an end, and it was very, very quickly done, very quick. The last 6 months of the war, before the war was finished, all that time, it was being organised. But we learned there's things were going to happen. We knew this, and then it did happen.